Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Let me know if y'all can hear me or not. Check. All right, good. There we go. All right, back like cook crack. Man, we got a lot to discuss. So, we're going to do some non sequitur stuff to kick off this show. And then we're going to get into the football activities. A lot of things have transpired since the last time we've spoken. So, this might be a little bit of a long one. Hopefully it won't be super duper long, but this one has a chance to be like an hour and 45, 2 hours long. So let's get to work. You're locked into the LouieTeeNetwork podcast that starts now. The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHead's classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 464th installment of the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. I, of course, am your host and set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's just get right into it. So I had a number of people hit me up about the show Cross on Amazon Prime, and haven't checked it out yet. So I can't say that I've watched it and you were right. But when this many people tell me the same thing over and over again, I trust you guys. And every time you guys have said, hey, no, this is a really good show, and like 3 people say, yo, this is a really good show, it's turned out to be a really good show. So I'm going to check that out. So I appreciate all of you for the recommendations. There have been some other shows that some of you have hit me up and said, hey, I don't know if you've checked this out, but, you know, give this a spin, see if you like it. So I'll be doing a lot of that over the Thanksgiving break, you know, consuming a lot of television programming. So we'll check a lot of those things out. But something that I know a lot of you probably did partake in, and I asked the question last week, were you guys going to watch? But not a lot of people really responded, partially because it wasn't on my podcast. I asked at the end of my Washington video, and that's not the same crowd as the people that show up here for the podcast. It's a much different crowd. They're just there for the Washington content. They don't want to talk about anything else, which is fine. That's why I do all of that here on the podcast, where I can talk about anything I want to talk about. So had a feeling that a lot of you would be watching that travesty of a fight. I did not partake in it. You know, the crazy thing is it was free. Technically, it wasn't free. You pay for Netflix unless you've got somebody else's password. But it was on Netflix. It wasn't on pay-per-view. You didn't have to pay for it. It was on Netflix. Everybody's got Netflix. So I checked in once or twice. The fight wasn't on. People were making fun of Cedric the Entertainer's get up. So I didn't even know it was him initially. Like I popped my head in for maybe 15 seconds once. Then I said, if the fight's on, I popped back in once more. And I said, if the fight is on, I'll stay and I'll watch. If it's not on, I'm out. I'm just going to watch something else and I'm done. And it wasn't on the second time I popped in. And so I was gone. But I heard that Netflix had some issues with the streaming, and because there was so many people there on the app live at once. And it was a big spectacle. You knew what it was going to be. Mike Tyson is still a draw. Even at 58 years old, he's still a massive draw. And then you throw in Jake Paul, who is also a massive draw. And that's the end result, right? But make no mistake about it, we'll get to the NFL piece of that Netflix discussion here in a bit. But let's talk about the fight itself. I've seen like bits and pieces of things people have posted. I don't think there's been a real Jake Paul fight yet. I haven't watched any of them, so I can't say if they are real or not. But there's a reason that he's not turning professional for real and fighting real fighters, because he's not a real fighter. And that's my, humble opinion. I could be wrong about that, but he's not a real fighter, right? This is all fun for him. These contracts that he puts together make sure that he doesn't get knocked the hell out. And you're not telling me anything. Mike Tyson could have knocked him out if he wanted to. I've seen videos of Mike Tyson, and I get it. Training and getting in the ring with somebody is two different things. The heavy bag doesn't hit back. All right. The speed bag doesn't hit back. I'm aware of all of these things. Trust and believe, though. If Mike Tyson wanted to knock Jake Paul out, he could knock Jake Paul out. I'm not like, he got off a couple of nice shots in the fight relatively early. And then he had to kind of remind himself, hey, don't knock this clown out, right? Because I remember when he fought Roy Jones, when they did the exhibition. This had to be, 2-3 years ago. Mike was throwing bombs in that fight, and how Roy didn't get knocked out. I was like, hey, Roy, yeah, kudos to you, right? But we didn't see any of those bombs in this fight. There were opportunities. Jake Paul's no real fighter. He knows nothing about, how to slip and, how not to get counterpunched. And he left himself open. We've seen Mike counter a lot of these shots, slip shots, parade shots, and then counter with that right. And there were opportunities for it all night from the clips that I saw. And I didn't see a lot of it. And I'm like, yeah, right. There's no way Mike doesn't slip this punch, come with that overhand right, and knock his lights, turn his lights out. And so I think Mike took this fight for the payday. I'm not mad at him. I'm not knocking the hustle. It was the largest non-Vegas purse for a fight in boxing history. Good for Mike, man. Anything that he can get his hands on monetarily, I want him to get it, man. He's had a crazy life. People have stolen from him. He's squandered money. He's had a lot of snakes around him, and he's had tragedy in his life. He almost died. He talked about, the fight was originally on 6 months ago or whatever, 3-4 months ago, and he almost died, lost a whole bunch of weight. He lost one of his kids. His daughter died in a trampoline accident. So, like, he's dealt with a lot of, different things in his life, and he's just looking for a payday, and I don't blame him. And I'm pretty sure in that contract it said, you can't knock me out. I'm pretty sure that's what the contract said. I think that's what the contract has said for every person that's fought Jake Paul, is you can't knock me out. But I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure that's what the contract for Mike Tyson said. I'm pretty sure that the whole slap thing before the fight was a part of it. That's the one time he really got to hit him in this whole ordeal. And boxing is it's a sport that I love dearly. And it's so crooked, it's so corrupt, and it's spectacles like this that give boxing a black eye, unjustifiably. People that didn't put the sweat equity into the sport, that get to defame the sport and give it less credibility. It sucks. It really does. I went to a fight a couple weekends ago. Shout out to the Davis boys. Keyshawn Davis is a beast. And he has two other brothers who also fought on that card. And one was making his professional debut. The other, I think he was like 10-0, Kevon. And they put on a show for us, and especially Keyshawn. Got his guy out of there in the second round, dropped him in the first, finished him in the second. There was another fight, the 2 fights prior to that, with Mason, who he looks like he's going to be a star, right? This kid looks like he's going to be a star. But they put on a show for the city, man. And it was so fun to just be in that environment with all of my people. The city was out, right? They were on their worst behavior, and I loved it. They were smoking in the facility. They were booing at the wrong time. They weren't boxing fans, right? They were just out because it was a time, right? And I enjoyed it. Me and my dad went. We had a blast. And then you see something like this. That was real boxing. And then you see this, and you're like, this is bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's all about getting to the bag. Jake Paul got to the bag yet again, and people keep paying for this nonsense. He's going to keep doing it, right? And that's why he calls out people like Canelo, because if Canelo wants the bag, and I don't see Canelo as being somebody that's that thirsty. Canelo's made a ton of money in his career, and he can make a ton more just being Canelo. He doesn't need Jake Paul. Normally it's the people that either can't resist the opportunity to make a good payday, a nice piece of change, or it's the people that need the money, right? But Canelo doesn't need the money. And if I'm Canelo, I want no parts of Jake Paul because I want to knock his ass out. I'm not signing up for a fight where I can't knock the dude that I'm fighting out because he's a clown. And you think Jake Paul's an idiot? He's not. He's a businessman. He's not going to get in the ring and get his block knocked off. That's not good for business. That's not good for his health either. So he's no dummy. But on the NFL side of this, I talked about some of the issues Netflix was having. Remember, the NFL has a couple of games on Netflix towards the end of this season, right around Christmas time, if I'm not mistaken. I think the games are both on Christmas Day, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the NFL saw the issues that Netflix was having with the stream because Netflix isn't used to having a live event. I think that was the first time that they had something like that big live with that many people watching at one time. And so this was actually really good for the NFL. This was an opportunity to see how Netflix could handle that type of volume because, hey, we got a couple of live events coming to your streaming platform, in a month from now, and we'd love to see how you handle this one, right? And I'm pretty sure the NFL would have loved it if the Tyson Paul fight would have gone off without a hitch the first time when it was supposed to happen. I think in the summer. Before Tyson had fallen ill and the fight had to be postponed because it would have given them more time to pivot if in fact there was an issue with Netflix. I mean, it's too late now for them to pivot. If Netflix couldn't handle the volume, what are you going to do? The game is supposed to be, I mean, I guess they could have scheduled one of the networks to handle the game, but I mean, they're already locked in with Netflix. It's too late to really pivot at this point. So the NFL approached Netflix the other day like, yo, so we heard you having some issues with the Tyson fight. Couldn't handle the amount of volume. The bandwidth wasn't there. It was really good. Like, if you're struggling with that, do you know who we are? Do you know what we do? We're the NFL. We're the biggest live program that exists in the world right now. I shouldn't say that. In the U.S. I shouldn't say in the world because I think the World Cup and those soccer matches probably blow the NFL out of the water, but nobody else comes close. So if you think your little boxing match, is something, wait till you get a load of one of these NFL games. Are you able to handle this? Do we have a problem? And Netflix like, no, we don't have a problem. We're fine. We know what the problem was. We know what the issue was. We're good. You don't have anything to worry about. And the NFL's like, okay, you better not, because you're getting one shot at this. And if you F this up, if people come back to us saying they had streaming issues with your service, we'll take these opportunities to Amazon. We'll take it to Yahoo. We'll take it somewhere else. You won't get another chance. We'll take this to Hulu. Don't you F this up. It's a lot of bread we throwing your way. You better get this right. So we'll see what Netflix does. It's crazy. These games are all over the place now. You got to have at least, we talked about this before in the pod, though. You got to have at least 3 or 4 different streaming apps just to watch an entire NFL season. You got to have whatever you're watching your cable on. Most people have pulled the plug and they have YouTube TV or something like that, or some kind of, streaming app. Then you got to have And that has to have NFL Network because that's where the London games and the international games come on. So if you don't have NFL Network, you got to find a way to get that. Then you have to have Amazon Prime, right? Because that's where the Thursday night games are on. And now they have a Black Friday game every year now. This is the second year they've done the Black Friday game. So they're going to do that. Then you have to have Netflix now because that's where they're going to do this Christmas game. You have to have Peacock because they're throwing, games there every so often. I think it was Steelers and Bengals last year that was exclusively on Peacock. And they've done that, at least 2 years in a row now where this is exclusively on Peacock. So if you don't have it, you better get it. And then they threw us a curveball that I didn't see coming. And I was like, I'm not doing it. They threw us a ESPN Plus curveball this year where that one snuck me. I wasn't aware that this game is exclusively, it was a doubleheader. And the second game was the lesser of the two games. So you weren't really tripping. But the first game was Bucks and Ravens. And then right around like 9, maybe 15 or so, they started Cardinals and Chargers on ESPN Plus. And if you didn't have ESPN Plus, you couldn't watch it. And I was like, wait, what? No, I'm not subscribing to ESPN Plus for this. And so I just named 5 different platforms you have to watch an NFL season. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's insane. But that's the way of the buck now, right? That's how you maximize your earning potential if you're the NFL or any of these leagues. The NBA is following suit. They're starting to put games all over the place too. So, yeah, man, it's an evil world we live in, man. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into our gem dropping session, shall we? I think we shall. Let's do it. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-double-E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, I haven't done this in a little while. I used to do this every week, and then I got away from it for a little while. And then, the pod has been a little bit spotty. That's an understatement. The kid is being stretched in 50 different directions. I got to do a better job of being a steward of my time, a better steward of my time. But at the end of the day, I used to do check-ins on the youngins at the quarterback position. Just to take the temperature, see how they're doing, how they're holding up. And it wasn't just the rookies. I also wanted to take a look at the second-year guys because they're babies too, right? The second-year guys, they're like rookies, a lot of them, because they didn't play a lot last year. In the case of Anthony Richardson, he made 4 starts last year, I believe, if that. So he's still a baby, right? Bryce Young, he started pretty much all of last year, but it was a disaster. And so you wanted to see what year 2 looked like for him. Will Levis, he was a baby. What did he start? The final 6-7 games for the Titans. He's a baby, right? So I wanted to check in on the youngins. Outside of CJ Stroud, none of them really had real success last year. And, obviously you're going to check in on the rookies. You want to see how the young boys are doing, how the young bulls are holding up. And now 4 of them are starting. So let's quickly do that. Let's go through the young fellas, man, and see how they're holding up. And let's go with the second-year QBs real quick. So Will Levis came off the bench. Today's show is titled "A Little Break Ain't Never Hurt Nobody," because there's this notion, I'm guilty, because generally if you bench a young quarterback, that's not good. And so I was like, yeah, like Will Levis, he was hurt, but really he was stinking it up. And I think the Titans head coach decided, yeah, you know what? I think our backup quarterback gives us a better chance to win right now. And, you know, everybody's going to do that early in the season because nobody wants to have a lost season in October, early October, which the Titans were heading clearly towards a lost season in September. And then in comes Mason Rudolph. They win a game on the road versus the Dolphins, a game that if Will Levis would have stayed in the entire time, they would have lost. And so he's like, you know what? Let's just roll with Mason for a little bit. And Will had a little injury or whatever. And so it gave him an excuse and a reason to keep him on the bench, but they really wanted to sit Will Levis down, right? So Williams sits down for a while, right? And it gets fully healthy, and they're like, yo, no, take your time. You don't need to rush back. You know, when, you know, the spot is yours when you're ready. And they hit him with one of those numbers. And so he was out for a significant amount of time. He missed, let's see, they played the Dolphins in, let's see, week 1, 2, 3, 4. They played the Dolphins in week 4. They had a week 5 bye, right? Most people thought, hey, Will Levis could be back after that bye. They then played the Titans. They played the Bills, the Lions, and then the Patriots. Will Levis didn't come back until the Chargers game. So he was out 1, 2, 3, 4 games. You add in the bye week, he was out for 5 weeks. So at that point, you're like, William probably, and he's still not the guy in Tennessee. Let's be clear about this. But I will say, William, yeah, I know a lot of y'all, we didn't talk about this, I don't think, against the Chargers. Okay, they didn't play the Chargers this week. They played the Chargers last week in week 10. But William, and I might have brought this up in passing, I might have been quick about it. William was 18 of 23 for 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, he did get sacked 7 times, but him getting sacked 7 times is a byproduct of him turning a new leaf, which is, hey, just don't turn it over, bro. Don't do anything stupid. If you get sacked, you get sacked. Like, we would rather you throw the ball away and not take a sack so we can stay on schedule and on time. But if you have to take a sack to avoid fumbling, trying to lateral to a teammate, or throwing a pick six because you're trying to get rid of the football, we rather you just take the sack. Something he didn't do earlier in the season. And it cost them games. They would have beaten the Jets. As you can see, everybody's beating the Jets. They would have beaten the Jets too. As you can see, everybody's beating the Bears. They would have beaten the Bears in week 1 too, had he not thrown a pick six. So William was that little break did him some good, right? So this week, the Titans played the Minnesota Vikings, and William has the longest touchdown pass in the NFL this season. I think it was 98 yards that he completed this touchdown pass. It was 98 yards to Nick Westbrook-Akine. 17 to 31, not great. 295, very much great. A touchdown and an interception. He was sacked 5 times. I'm not telling you that he's the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans next year, because he's not. They're squarely in the hunt for the number 1 pick in the draft and one of the top quarterbacks in this upcoming draft class. So, you know what'll be really interesting, and we're a long ways away from this, but clearly Shedeur Sanders wants to go to Vegas to play for the Raiders. And he strikes me as a guy that would threaten a team if he doesn't, like, who wants to go to Tennessee? Let's be honest. Who wants to go play for the Titans? Raise your hand. There are no hands up. Nobody. Like, look, if you get drafted by them, if you're one of those, hey, I just want to play, I'm happy to go wherever, guys, then you don't care. You'll go to Tennessee. But Shedeur Sanders isn't one of those players. He's not I'll go anywhere you want me to go. I'm just happy to play football. I just want to hear my name called. I'm a team guy, right? Like, no. He's team Shedeur Sanders. Like, I don't know if you've seen this, but the man has agreed to participate in the East-West Shrine game. Okay. I don't know if you guys get what he's doing there, but if you want to play glass half full, right? If you want to be optimistic, you go, oh man, Shador is shining a light on some of these guys that would not get as much attention by him going to the East-West Shrine game. Guess what's going to happen? A lot of executives, GMs, front office members, high-level scouts, executives are going to be, coaches will be at the East-West Shrine game. So he's going to bring attention to guys that otherwise may not have gotten as much attention at that game, right? Because a lot of times what happens is a coach or a GM will come out to watch someone work and they'll see another guy. They'll stumble into another guy and go, who's that guy? Or, hey, give me some information on this dude, man. He looks pretty impressive, and then you'll find out later on the backstory behind how that guy got drafted. Hey, we were out here scouting this guy. We ran in and we saw this dude, and that's how we ended up drafting him too, right? Or drafting that guy. Well, that's glass half full. That, oh man, look at him shining a light on the East-West Shrine game and giving all these other guys a great opportunity. And you know what? If that is his intent, bless his heart. The real intent, I think, and I'll never know this. I can't confirm or deny this. The real intent is he doesn't want to go to the Senior Bowl. He has no intentions of being at the Senior Bowl under that microscope. The practices are way harder. You're under a much bigger microscope. That whole week of practice, it's documented. It's filmed. You're on the NFL Network. If there are flaws in your game, remember, every guy that has gone to the East-West, to the Senior Bowl, remember that 2022 draft class of garbage at the quarterback position? They were all there at the Senior Bowl that year, and they all stunk. And there was no separation. Malik Willis and Sam Howell and Matt Corral and all of them, Kenny Pickett, they all were funky that year at the Senior Bowl. You don't think people see that? He could have just declined the Senior Bowl invite and just showed up at the combine, did nothing there, right? Because he's going to be at the combine. I don't think he's going to participate. But he's going to this, I think he's going to the East-West game to avoid the Senior Bowl so he can show up somewhere, do a little something. That week of practice isn't as strenuous as the Senior Bowl week is. You avoid all of that stuff, and you say, hey, I participated in one of these extracurricular activities. If you want to see me, this is where you got to be. Kind of controlling the narrative, so to speak. I control how this thing goes. You don't get to control because you don't have any control if you go to the Senior Bowl. That's structured. Not that the East-West Shrine game isn't structured. It's not as structured as the Senior Bowl. There are real coaches, and not that there isn't real coaches at the East-West Shrine game, but it's a lot different. Like, people take pride in being named the North coach or the South coach, and that's real experience for them. They're taking that seriously. Not that they're not taking it seriously at the East-West, but you see how I'm doing this, right? You see the backhanded compliments that I'm giving to the East-West Shrine game. I feel like he's weaseling his way out of that. Either way, let's bring the conversation full circle. He doesn't want to go to Tennessee. He doesn't want to play for the Titans. He strikes me as a guy that would be like, if you draft me, I'm sitting out. Don't draft me, Tennessee. He strikes me as a guy that might try to, like, especially if the Raiders have the number 2 pick. That's where he wants to be. Let's say the Titans end up with the number 1 pick and the Raiders end up with the number 2 pick in the draft. He strikes me as a guy that says, Tennessee, if you draft me, I'm not playing. I'm sitting out. Don't draft me. Try to scare him into not drafting him so that the Raiders can draft him at 2. He strikes me as a guy that would do that. But I could be wrong. But they are going to draft a quarterback, are the Tennessee Titans. But Will Levis is playing better. And if nothing else, Will Levis is positioning himself to be at least an NFL backup quarterback. At a bare minimum, he's going to position himself to have a shot to stay in the league, because he could easily be out of this thing within 3 to 4 years. But he's playing better. That little break, that little sabbatical that he took due to injury seems to be benefiting him. Another guy that seems to be benefiting, and obviously the Panthers did not play this past week, but Bryce Young has looked a lot better since coming back from his break, right? The little benching that they had. I same thing with the Titans. Bryce Young is not the future in Carolina. And I think we all saw what the Giants just did to Daniel Jones. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But I think there's a little bit of that aspect. Plus, hey, we don't want to put him out there and then he sucks again. And then he sucks out whatever little value he does have right now. He pisses it away because of his poor play. He's shown that he can play at a solid level these last 2 starts. I think he started the last 3 games, matter of fact. Let's just leave him in this position right here where the last image of Bryce Young was, hey, that wasn't bad. Not everybody's getting a quarterback. As you can tell, this is not the 2023 draft class or 2024, excuse me, draft class of quarterbacks. This 2025 draft is not. Okay. There may be 1 or 2 guys that end up being good in this draft class. There won't be 6 first-round picks. I assure you of that. So not everybody's getting a quarterback. And, somebody might have to trade for Bryce Young. That's going to happen relatively early in the offseason, I would assume, if, let's say, you end up with the 12th pick in the draft. You're not getting one of those top quarterbacks. And you don't know anything until you try, right? You got to see who ends up where with what pick, where these picks fall and land before you make a move like trading for Bryce Young. But I would assume that shortly thereafter the draft, if not on draft night, once you realize you're not getting one of those quarterbacks, I could see Bryce Young getting, traded. But he's been better of late since that little break. Little break ain't never hurt nobody, right? He's been a lot better. But the real guy that we want to talk about here after his little benching and break is Anthony Richardson, because we had a lot of discussions about Anthony Richardson and whether the Colts were doing the right thing. And Joe Flacco was playing well when they decided to bench Anthony Richardson. He literally gave them the best chance. And then they realized, oh, shit, Joe Flacco's 80 years old. And, oh, by the way, Joe stinks, right? Like full-time starter-wise, he stinks. Because you don't know which Joe you're going to get. Like the Browns got good Joe. And if good Joe shows up, and that's what showed up for them early in the season in spot duty, good Joe showed up. And you can win a lot of football games with good Joe. But if bad Joe rears his ugly head, shit can go off the rails. And it did. And then they said, well, shit, if Joe's going to do this, what are we doing? Right? So they went back to Anthony Richardson against the Jets. And it was kind of quiet, too. Like, they did it, but it wasn't too much fanfare. People weren't, like, all over this story. It wasn't a massive story. It was like, oh, the Colts are going back to Anthony Richardson. And then they went to something else. They went to talk about another topic. Like, hey, that's a big deal. Anthony, like, I think a lot of people gave up on the kid. And look, I'm not telling you that one start against the lowly Jets is going to change people's minds on Anthony Richardson. But if you watched him in this game, this was as impressive as I've seen him look at any point this season. He literally, he had one mistake, which was the interception, and everything else was like, hey, he's doing all the things that were good things, but he was spreading it out over the course of like 8 different games. He's doing it all in one game. Oh, shit. Right? Anthony Richardson in this game, 20 of 30, which for him, 20 of 30, that's 66% completion percentage. I could do the quick math, right? But for him, first of all, 66% is really good. Let's just start there. That's really good. But for him, that's like 90% completion percentage. This man was completing less than 50% of his passes before his break, right? Like 66 is crazy for this dude. So there's that. There's 20 of 30 for 272. That's a good yards per attempt. He didn't have an interception. My fault. No interception. 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He ran the football and he was a bruiser. Like I almost get a little nervous when he runs because he thinks he can run over everybody, and he's gotten injured. Like the Steelers game, he got injured trying to run over somebody. And I'm like, yo, I would really prefer you to not lower your shoulder, and your right one at that. But he was lowering the boom. He did it on a 2-point conversion. He did it on the game-winning touchdown. Um, he ran for, excuse me, it wasn't a 2-point conversion. He did it on 2 different touchdowns where he lowered his shoulder and got in the end zone, ran over a defender, 10 carries, 32 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was outstanding in this game. Had a number of, big plays. Adonai Mitchell, 33-yard catch. Alec Pierce, 39-yard catch. Josh Downs, 31-yard catch. Michael Pittman Jr., 20-yard catch. Like the distribution, the chunk plays. Now Josh Downs had the full-out extension dive, and if that ball's put on the money, that might be a 60-yard touchdown instead of a 31-yard catch. So we still got things to work on, but the fact of the matter is he looked good. He looked real good. Looked reinvigorated. Maybe he just needed that. Like, he's one of those guys. After he tapped out and took himself out of a game, he might have been one of those dudes that just didn't get it, and he needed a wake up call, right? He just may have been one of those dudes that was taking the starting position for granted. Like, okay, let's just take this shit from him so he sees that this is not your birthright. You're not entitled to be the quarterback. We could take this shit from you and give it to somebody else if you want us to. Like maybe he just needed to wake the hell up. Whatever it was, he played really well. I want to see more of it. Now, you also got to take it with a grain of salt. It was the Jets. Man, are they ass-tastic. That is a shit show. We could do a whole podcast on just the Jets and the mess that is the New York Jets, right? They just fired Joe Douglas, their GM. Now we're hearing stories like Woody Johnson. I know the Jets organization as a whole, like, yes, I'm so glad Trump is getting back in the office so Trump can send this bastard back over to Ireland or some shit like that to be the ambassador for the U.S. over in some foreign country, because this man needs to get the hell out of our building because he's a fucking asshole, right? Woody Johnson is trash. It's between him and the Panthers owner for, like, the worst owner in the NFL. And I don't actually think that the Panthers owner, David Tepper, is a bad human being. I just think he doesn't know how to go about winning, right? He's too meddlesome. He's always been hands-on in all of his business affairs, and he doesn't realize that this isn't you being in a hedge management firm, or this isn't you trading stocks or buying a company and being heavily involved in helping that company maximize its potential. This is the NFL, bro. Let the professionals handle the business. Like, they need to answer to you or at least inform you on what they're doing, but let the professionals do their job. I think Woody Johnson is a scumbag. So, and I don't think he understands how any of this works. And he doesn't really care. He's one of these owners, and there's several of these owners who don't really give a damn, right? Like, and when I say that, they want to win, but they may care about making money more. Like Jerry Jones. And Jerry wants to win, but Jerry cares about making money more than he cares about winning. Anyway, as long as the dollars are flowing in, who cares, right? Anyway, we could do a whole podcast on the Jets. Woody Johnson is an ignoramus, but Anthony Richardson went out there and balled. That's the overarching theme, is that he went out there and he kicked their ass. And when they had to have it, Aaron Rodgers took the Jets on the drive, gave them the lead. He came back, went down the field, and matched Aaron Rodgers' drive, gave them the lead late, and they were able to hold on 28-27. And the Colts aren't out of it. Now they're 5-6, and if he can play good football, they've got winnable games down the stretch. They've got some winnable games down the stretch. Now let's talk about some of the youngins, the rookies. Let's start with Drake Maye. Let's start with the number 1 overall pick. Let's just go in order. This was the best game that I've seen Caleb Williams play in his NFL career, his young NFL career. This was so impressive. And albeit in a loss 20-19, we all know that they had a field goal block late. I thought that there was a gross mismanagement of the late clock at the end. The Bears could have gotten even closer than what they were. Not that that was the reason the field goal got blocked. It wasn't like he was kicking a 50-yard field goal. Cairo Santos has one of the weakest legs in the NFL. He kicked a 53-yarder, and that thing barely made it over the crossbar. So in a day and age where dudes are kicking bombs from 58 with 3-4 yards to spare, this man's barely making it over the crossbar at 53, but he's highly accurate, right? But they could have gotten closer, and I get it. You run the risk. They had timeouts. They had everything at their disposal, right? In time, they could have gotten a lot closer, right? They could have run another play, centered it, whatever they needed to do. It's not like he just flat out missed. It got blocked, but I didn't think it was a good managing of the end of the game. But that's nor here nor there. If the kick goes through, nobody's questioning how they handled the end of the game, right? But forget about all that. We're here to talk about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams in this game, 23 of 31 for 231, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, but he ran the ball, and this was so impressive. 9 times for 70 yards. He was elusive. He was dynamic. Every big play that they needed in the game, especially late, he made it. There was a 4th down and like 13 with the game on the line. Like, it's 4th down and 13. You don't convert this, the Packers can take knees or, run the ball 3 times, kick a field goal, punt it, whatever. And you're going to be left with little to no time, and the game's pretty much over. And he completes a back shoulder fade to Rome Odunze. That was the type of game that he had. Every time there was a big 3rd down, it felt like late in the game, he executed. Big 4th down, he executed. His legs were electric. He looked like he was back at SC in this game. It's the most comfortable I've seen him look. And if you're a Bears fan, this is what you've been waiting on. This performance right here. That Jag one, that ain't shit. It's the Jaguars. It's cool. That's cool, right? It's the Jags. This is when it counts. You're playing your most hated rival. You've lost to the Packers 87 times in a row. You want somebody to stand up and become a hero and save you from the big bad Packers. And Caleb did his best to do that. He put his cape on in this game. And it's unfortunate for Bears fans that it didn't come to fruition and the field goal, was blocked. But that's karma, right? I mean, no fan base deserves this more than the Bears fans. Like, you were acting idiotically for no reason all season. For what? But the biggest takeaway here is, forget Bears fans. Move them to the side for a second. Caleb Williams looked effing awesome in this game. And if you're a Bears fan, despite the loss, your season's going nowhere now. You went from 4-2 to 4-6 in the matter of a blink of an eye. Like, because you couldn't shut your damn mouth and you wanted to be an asshole as a fan base for no reason. So this is what happens. The football gods intervene and ensure that you go nowhere but home when the season meets its conclusion, the regular season, that is, in January. You go home, right? That's on you. You did that. However, the biggest thing that you needed to see in this season, you were hoping it lead to victories, because this is a team ready to win now. This is not a, hey, we got our young quarterback. Let's see what he can do. We got to surround him with pieces eventually, but let's just see if he's good enough to be the guy. You had already done all of that before you drafted him. You already had traded for Keenan Allen. You already had DJ Moore. You drafted Rome Odunze. You already had a tight end. You went out and signed DeAndre Swift at running back. You already had this defense that was already well put together. You traded for Montez Sweat last year. You already signed Jalen Johnson to a long-term deal. You drafted all those guys in the secondary. This team was ready to win now. And unfortunately, that's not what's taking place. But Caleb Williams looks the part. Now, can he consistently put together games like this? And obviously, you'd like to see a touchdown thrown, him run for something, do something to impact the game. But he led them on some drives, and he did some good things. And when the game was on the line, and this is the most important thing, and it's the same thing that Bears fans were holding on to earlier in the season when they played the Commanders. When the game was on the line, he took us down the field, and he gave us a chance to win, right? He did it again here. And unfortunately, because Bears fans, I'm putting this shit all on the Bears fans, because you couldn't shut your damn mouth earlier in this season, and you wanted to point fingers, call names, and just act an absolute ass for no reason. This is your punishment. But Caleb Williams, by far and away, his best performance. And I know he had a 4-touchdown performance against Jacksonville. I'm well aware. This, to me, was better than that. This, to me, was much better than that. Let's go to Drake Maye and his performance against the Rams. And I will say I was disappointed. I picked the Patriots in this game, and they had a chance early in this game. They were up 7-0. The Rams got off to a slow start. They had the football twice with a chance, and they drove it twice, and then they just made mistakes, penalties, sack, just mistakes that bad teams make, and they threw away a golden opportunity to jump all over these Rams, who had struggled the week before on Monday Night Football versus the Dolphins. And then once Matthew Stafford woke up, and for what reason, I don't know, they just decided they were going to blitz Matthew Stafford like he was some kind of rookie, lame quarterback. And Matthew Stafford torched him. Like, bro, you know who I am? Do you know what my resume reads? Google me. I'm Matthew Stafford, future Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, come on now, respect your elders. They were coming after him like he was some kind of chump, and he made him pay. But this is about Drake Maye. Drake Maye in this game, look, man, I like what I'm seeing from Drake Maye. Now, this is what I'll say. He has the penchant to make the big mistake at the absolute worst time in these games. He always seems to have a careless fumble that hurts his team. He had one in this game. And he always seems to have the back-breaking, game-sealing interception. He had one in this game. He had the same thing against the Titans earlier this season. He seems to do that. So that's the one knock I have on him right now, is when his team needs him the most, he comes up the smallest. Pause. But between the beginning of the game and that winning moment, before you get to that winning moment, he's playing his ass off. 30 of 40 was Drake Maye. Once again, I can do the math. That's 75% completion percentage, folks. 282 yards. That's a pretty good per attempt average. 2 touchdowns, and then that one game, back-breaking interception. The game was on the line. They had time. He could go down the field, win the game, be the hero, and he threw a pick. It was the worst throw of the game. But he also can use his legs. 3 carries, 27 yards. He looks good, man. The Patriots got a guy. Now it's just they got to get some talent around him. This shit isn't enough. What they got around him, the tight end position is fine. I like Kendrick Bourne. I've told you guys, if I was a team looking to upgrade my receiver position, there's not a lot of shit I want from the New England Patriots right now. He would have been one of the few items that would have been worth going and snatching away from them. Like, hey, what y'all doing with Kendrick Bourne? I give you a 7th round pick for him. Kendrick, 5 catches, 70 yards, a touchdown in this game. He was the leading receiver. He looks good. He's getting back. Remember, he had a major injury last year, knee injury. I think he tore his ACL last year. So he's starting to really get back to being himself. And that's good. They're going to need him to step up along with Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper and those tight ends. But I like Drake Maye a lot, man. He's playing really well. And if he can just stay away from the turnovers, he's got a shot to be really good. I think the Patriots are really pleased with what they're doing with him and how he's responding so far as a young quarterback. He seems to be getting better and better as the weeks pass. Speaking of getting better and better, let's talk about Bo Nix. And then we'll talk about Jaden Daniels real quick. Bo Nix, man. Go have yourself a day, Bo. It was Bo time on Sunday versus the Atlanta Falcons. Bo Nix, 28 of 33. I can't do the fast math there, but that's got to be approaching 85% completion percentage. Let's just do the quick math on that. 33 divided by 28 is, or excuse me, 28 divided by 33 is 84. I'm a beast, man. I'm a beast. 84%. So I knew it had to be close to 85%, right? Yikes. 85% completion percentage, essentially. 307 yards. All right, so that's a good average, right? That's over 9 yards per attempt. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked 1 time. Bo was in his bag. Now, I will say this. Atlanta has arguably the worst pass rush in the NFL. They can't get to anybody's quarterback. So Bo had time to throw, but it doesn't make a difference. Bo was carving these boys up. Now, I also will say that one of his touchdowns, he was gifted by the NFL because they went for it on a 4th down. He threw a pass to one of his receivers. He did not catch the football. All right. He did not complete the process of a catch. I don't even know if he took 2 steps with the football and it was jarred loose and it was incomplete, ruled incomplete on the field. It was 4th down. It would have been turnover on downs, Atlanta football. And then somehow New York gets involved and they overturn it and say it was a catch. Even the guy that was in-house, I think this game was on Fox. So I think it was Mike Pereira who was doing the game, in-house as the rules analyst for Fox. He was like, I don't know what they're watching. I don't know what they're seeing. I don't know how this is a catch. He does not take 2 steps. There is no football act common to the game. There is no 3rd step. He's not putting a foot, like there's no time element. There's nothing. How is this a catch? I'm at some point we need to have a discussion about New York's involvement in these games this year. They've been awful. Okay. We expect human error on the field. It's a part of the game. That's why New York is there, to clean up the mess that the officials on the field make. Not go and double down on the mess, or in this case, the officials made the right call on the field, and New York came back and made some bogus call. Like, what are you doing? Right? Anyway, they ultimately went down. That play was at the Falcons' 25-yard line. So after they overturned it and gave them back the ball, like 3 plays later, they were in the end zone. So this was by far and away Bo Nix's best game. And he's clearly getting comfortable playing a position. I told you when we were going through the draft process, Bo Nix is the perfect fit for Sean Payton's offense. He's Drew Brees light. And I said, the faster he gets acclimated, which I knew it wasn't going to take a very long time because he played a lot of football in college, right? And so I'm like, this Sean Payton offense is tailor-made for Bo Nix. And I've been impressed with Bo Nix's ability to scramble, use his legs, but more importantly, I've been impressed with his grit, like, and him snapping off on Sean Payton, because Sean Payton's got a mouth on him and he can be a little bit saucy, right? He can be a little bit extra, Sean Payton can, right? And so him snapping back at Sean Payton, like, bro, who are you talking to? Like, I saw it. I know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I was like, okay, Bo, I see you. So, but essentially what I'm saying is Bo ain't no bitch. And I think there's this misconception if you're like a strong faith Christian, then you got some hoe in you. Like, oh, you can run over this guy because he's got scriptures on his wristband and, he's got a cross on his face. And and he's got a buzz cut and he's clean cut and he's a wholesome kid. And Bo's like, hey, don't get it twisted, bro. Yeah, I'm from the South and we went to church 7 days a week. Don't get it twisted, though. I'll bust your shit. I like Bo a lot and he's playing some damn good football. I'm going to tell you right now, this Broncos team is dangerous. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs because the AFC is tough. But with that defense that they're able to play, and with Bo Nix getting better and better as these weeks continue to progress. Well, no, man, look out for Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. I'm not saying, I'm just saying I'm proud of Bolton too, man, because it started off rough. Speaking of starting off, Jaden Daniels started off hot. Now he's not. Thursday Night Football, Jaden Daniels took the field against the Philadelphia Eagles in his biggest game of his career to this point. And again, keep in mind, we hold Jaden Daniels to a much higher standard than any of these other young quarterbacks because of what he had done earlier in the season. This is the Heisman Trophy winner from last year. So he came in with that kind of fanfare. And then he came out guns a-blazing in the NFL, lighting teams up. And, the last 2 weeks, and obviously he had an injury, but if you're on the field, then you're healthy enough to play. We don't want to make any excuses for you. That's just how we roll. So missed some throws against the Steelers the week prior. Missed an opportunity. The Commanders were up 10 in the third quarter against the Steelers. Like, they could have taken control of that game, and they had opportunities to put them away. And Jaden Daniels didn't get any help. He had receivers drop passes and things of that nature, but he didn't help himself either, right? He missed some opportunities in that game as well. But he was a great opportunity on the road, big stage, bright lights, Thursday Night Football, NFC East lead, on the line. And these numbers, like, if in a vacuum, 22 of 32, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, those are solid numbers for a rookie quarterback in the NFL. But Jaden Daniels isn't just any rookie quarterback in the NFL. So those are unsatisfactory numbers. He was also sacked 3 times for 20 yards. And his legs were a non-factor as well. 7 carries, 18 yards. Got to credit the Eagles defense. I also think you got to credit Jaden Daniels in indecisiveness as well for the lack of rushing yards and some of these misses that were present on film. This is not good enough for Jaden Daniels. This is not acceptable. The bar has been set extremely high for him. So much so that now all of a sudden, Bo Nix has entered his name into the Rookie of the Year discussion, the Offensive Rookie of the Year discussion. Bo Nix has entered the chat, and Jaden Daniels is going to have to get back on his horse if he wants to ride away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which I still think is his award to lose. But he's going to have to play better. This was his worst performance. And again, listen to what I'm saying to you. 22 of 32 for 191, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Like, again, if you watch the game, this was not a good performance. And these numbers don't really truly tell the story. He wasn't himself in this game. And I'm not saying that was because of injury. I think you also have to credit the Eagles defensively. I think they confused him. I think they got pressure on him. I think they made him uncomfortable, right? But his head coach said, the lack of practice time has been, influential in some of the misses and the timing being off. And you can see some of the timing is off. And he's not as decisive. He doesn't know where to go with the football as quickly. He's not taking off and running. And I think getting back to the basics, the fundamentals, the time off this week with this Thursday game being played and having 10 days between the next game, all of that stuff is very beneficial to a quarterback that has been dealing with some injuries and definitely could use the extra time and can get back on the practice field now. So Jaden Daniels' last 2 starts, not super impressive, right? But still, to me, the best rookie quarterback of the group. And I think ultimately will prove that out as the rest of this season plays itself out. But he's got company now. He's got company in Bo Nix. So those are your young QBs, man. Oh, Michael Penix. I just want to throw this sidebar out. Michael Penix did get in the game against it. I mean, obviously it was an ass kicking. So he did get in this game late. Now it was a lot of handoffs. I think he threw it a couple of times though. 2 of 4, 24 yards. He did get sacked once. So not a lot to see here. A lot more handoffs than anything else towards the end of this game. But just so you know, the seal has officially been broken on Michael Penix Jr. He got in the game. And we'll see if he gets any more run at any other point this season. But Michael Penix Jr. saw his first action. So 5 out of the 6 rookies have now seen the field in some capacity that were selected in the first round. And of the 7, legitimate quarterbacks selected, if you throw in Spencer Rattler, 6 of the 7 quarterbacks that we considered, high-level quarterbacks in this draft class have seen the field now. And of the 7, 5 have started. The only 2 not having started a game, Michael Penix Jr. and, of course, J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy will not play this year, so he'll be the only rookie to not see the field in any capacity this year. Let's go ahead and transition to Slate Skatin. I'm going to give you an opportunity to get your skates on. I'm about to put my rollerblades on, lace those bad boys all the way up to the tippy top. I don't want no ankle issues. And then we're going to get this party started and get this thing rolling. All right. So, you guys are ready. Let's do it. All right. So, Week 11 was really entertaining. A lot of close ball games. A lot of intriguing matchups. And definitely was fun to be able to just sit back and watch all the games. Without having to worry about my boys. And I'll get to do it again in 2 weeks. That'll be fun again. But or 3 weeks from now. We got a game this weekend, we got a game next weekend, and then we are on our bye week in week 14. But Steelers, Ravens, we knew this one was going to be a knockdown, drag out slugfest, right? I did not expect the Steelers to win their second game of the season in which they did not score a single touchdown and knock through 6 field goals. This is the second time the Steelers, this is the quintessential, this is what we call a Mike Tomlin victory, right? Where they don't score a single touchdown, they kick 6 field goals and win the game 18-16 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. They won a game earlier this season, week 1 to be exact, 18-10 over the Atlanta Falcons with 6 field goals in that game as well. So let's and there's context to this. So Lamar Jackson did not have his best performance. 16 of 33, 207, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. Derrick Henry fumbled on the opening possession of this game. You could see like strange things happen to the Ravens when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, right? I can't explain it, right? I don't know if it was last year or the year before last where they went into Pittsburgh. I want to say it was last year. And the Ravens were clearly the better team. And somehow the game is 10-10. And then the Steelers block a field goal, a punt, and return it for a touchdown and win the game like 17-10. And you're just like, yo, what the F is going on out there? When they play each other, strange things happen. But Lamar, I didn't realize Lamar has struggled so mightily in his career versus the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. But it continued in this game. Lamar was not sharp. This was one of those games where you're like, damn, no one's separating, or is Lamar just not seeing the field well? What's going on? Because there were times where Lamar would be holding on to the ball and holding it and holding it and holding it and holding it and waiting and still no one's open. And either he'd have to throw it away or you have to tuck it and run or, force it into somewhere. And you're like, damn, nobody was open. That's the best you could do on that play after holding it for that long. So Derrick Henry, who I don't think has fumbled all season long, coughs it up on the first possession. I'm not done yet. Look, this has been a rough go, and we see this from even the best of the best field goal kickers. There's a year in there that is, forgettable. I think the Super Bowl year of 2022, the Chiefs kicker, Harrison Butker, awful season. But when they needed him the most, he showed up in the Super Bowl, right? But he had a forgettable season. He was missing kicks all over the place. I remember one year, Mason Crosby, the Packers kicker, damn good kicker, right? For the bulk of it. Remember that one year he couldn't make shit. And Aaron Rodgers had to go to Packers management and beg them not to cut Mason Crosby because he was missing so many damn kicks. And he ultimately, pushed through, made some kicks later on that year, but he was awful that year, right? It happens to the best of them. I've seen Adam Vinatieri have an off season before. It happens. This is the off season, that 1 year when we look back on his Hall of Fame career, because Justin Tucker's a Hall of Fame place kicker. When we look back on his Hall of Fame career, we're going to look back on 2024 and say that was an anomaly. That you could throw that year out. It's killing his percentage. I think he had the all-time NFL field goal percentage, with a minimum of XYZ amount of kicks. His percentage was up in like the 94 percentile or something, like 94% made field goals in his career. That's taken a serious hit this year. He missed 2 kicks in this game, and it got to the point where I started to feel bad for him. And I normally don't feel bad for dudes like that who are that nice, because he was one of them dudes that he knew the shit was going in. He was gonna let you know about it. He had celebrations and all types of shit. So he's one of those kickers because he's been so good and so decorated throughout his career. He's got swag. So I'm like, I don't really feel bad, but I felt bad for this man because it got to the point where you could tell he was starting to question himself. Like he gave me the Joey Sly. If you're a Commanders fan, you know what I'm talking about. He gave me the Joey Sly look after, like, the incredulous disbelief look up at the upright. Like, did you move? Because I could have sworn when I kicked the ball, you was over here. Like, ain't no way I just missed it. Like, he was stunned, right? But he missed twice. You can be stunned after one miss. You can't be stunned after the second one. Now it's like, did I just miss again? And, I saw some crazy shit. So, like, to me, it's Justin Tucker, bro. I don't care if he's missed 4 field goals. It's still Justin Tucker. Like, do you know the amount of equity this man has built up? If anybody gets to miss 2 or 3 kicks in a game and not be questioned, it's Justin Tucker. And yet, after this game, now Justin has struggled this year. Let's be clear here. He struggled. What is his percentage on the year? Let me just take a look real quick, because Justin has struggled this year. So this year, Justin is 16-22. I don't think he's ever missed 6 kicks a year in his career. And he's missed the extra point. Again, I don't know if he's ever missed 7 total kicks a game in his career, a season in his career. But there were questions after this game. Do the Ravens need to go and bring in another kicker? I didn't even read the article. I was like, if that's the headline, I don't want to read the article. That's craziness. That's pure craziness. But he did miss 2 kicks. They did lose this game by 2 points. So there's that. He was 1 of 3 in this game. But when it's all said and done, this was about the Steelers' defense and their ability to, Russell Wilson had a very egregious interception in the end zone. Like, in a game like this where, points come at a premium, they were up by 2. It was the same score, 18-16. If they just kicked the field goal, as a matter of fact, I think they were up 5 at that time. I think the score was 6. I think it was 18-13, I think, at that time. And if they just kick the field goal, they go up 21-13. Now they need a touchdown 2-point conversion to tie the game. No, as a matter of fact, that was not the score. The score at that time was 18-10. It was 18-10 because a field goal would have essentially put the game away. It would have put them up 2 scores. And he throws this egregious pick in the back of the end zone to Marlon Humphrey, who always seems to be the one to make the big play for the Ravens to keep them in the game. He did it against Cincinnati. He did it, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I forget who they played, but he made a big play in the Tampa game when they couldn't stop Tampa Bay. He picks off Baker Mayfield, and that kind of calmed down that Buccaneers offense at a time where they were humming that night. He always seems to make the big play for them. And he made it in this game. Back of the end zone, gave them a shot when it looked like they were on their deathbed. And they went down. Of course, Lamar went down, took him down the field, got in the end zone, hit Zay Flowers, touchdown. They go for 2. Again, I don't know what it is with these offensive coordinators and these gotta have it plays, but it was the worst 2-point conversion play I think I've ever seen. Lamar rolling to his left. I think it was a run. I think it was a run. And he has the ball in his left hand, and then he tries to throw. It was a disaster. It was an abject disaster. So they don't convert the 2-point conversion, and they lose the game 18-16. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the Ravens in this game, and they still had a chance to win, which is why I don't think people truly believe in the Steelers. Like, how sustainable is this model, right? How sustainable is this model? But you got to credit them. They find ways to win. It's not pretty. It's an unapologetic style that they have. And, don't look now, but the Steelers are 8-2. The Ravens dropped to 7-4. This was a big one. Now the Steelers have command of that division. But there's still a lot of football left to be played. The Steelers still have to play 4 division games. They still have to play the Bengals twice. They still have to play the Browns once. They still have to play. Matter of fact, they play the Browns this Thursday. If I'm not mistaken, this was their first division game. They haven't played the Bengals at all. They haven't played the Browns at all. And this was their first game against the Ravens. So they still have 5 of their final 7 games within the division. So anything could happen. But that was a big win for the Steelers, protecting the house. That's what you got to do. And they did it. And if you're the Ravens, it's just one of those losses where you say, we can't beat ourselves. Missed 2 field goals, fumbled the football. Lamar threw a pick. We can't beat ourselves. We're a good team, but they're a good team too. And if you beat yourself against a good team, you're going to lose the game. And they did. We'll make this one short and sweet. Detroit Lions beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 52-6. I don't really have a lot for you here. They did whatever the hell they wanted to do to Jacksonville. Mac Jones stinks. Doug Peterson is dead man walking. Trent Baalke is going to be fired. There will be a full house cleaning after the season. If you don't get fired after this performance, you're not going to. I think I'm more in line with what good does it do to fire your coach in season? Unless you're going to start actively looking for his replacement. Unless you want the leg up on everybody else to talk to a Bill Belichick or a Mike Vrabel or somebody that's out of football right now. Because Vrabel's on the Cleveland Browns staff, so he actually has a job to do. But if you want to talk to someone who's out of football, like a Bill Belichick, and you want to get the leg up on the rest of the competition of teams who are going to fire their coach at the end of the season, then more power to you. I get it. But to me, it doesn't really do you any good. If the guys have checked out and you see that, then maybe firing the coach does, give you a little pep in your step. But if you're the Jags, I think you probably are better served just letting Doug ride this thing out. You fire everybody at the end of the season and you go from there, right? Boy, they're a mess. But enough about them. This is about Detroit. They're the best team in football right now. I mean, they're destroying teams. When they got you down, they don't let you up. They're crushing teams, souls. They're snatching people's heart out of their chests. I mean, they're brutal, man. And they just don't give a F. And I love it. They are literally the epitome of a lion. They hunt their prey, they stalk it, and then when they get it, they rip it to shreds. I mean, this was no mercy right here. Jared Goff continues to make a bid for league MVP. I don't think he's going to get it, but 24 of 29, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interception. The man averaged 14. I've never seen this before. 14 yards per attempt with 29, almost 30 attempts. I've never seen that many yards per attempt with 30 attempts. I've seen that when a guy's thrown it 19 times, 15 times, 13. I've never seen a guy have over 14 yards an attempt with 30 attempts roughly in a game. That's insane. But Gibbs and Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles each had 70 yards rushing, essentially 75 for Montgomery, 70 for Gibbs. Both averaged over 5 yards a carry. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 catches, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jameson Williams did the Marshawn Lynch, jump into the end zone, grab by nuts celebration. He had 4 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. This shit was crazy. Jacksonville is a mess, and the Lions are that damn good. Their asset that they just traded for in Zadarius Smith, he had a sack in this game. Hey, when it's going well, it's just going well. They look like the best team now. Shit can change. Much like I said with the Steelers, the Lions have a lot of divisional games remaining on the schedule. I think they play the Bears on Thanksgiving. If I'm not mistaken, they have the Bears twice. I don't think they've played the Bears at all yet. They have the Packers once more, and they have the Vikings once more. So they still got a lot of divisional games. 4 out of their final 7 games are within the division. So things could change, right? But they've gone on the road to Minnesota, won. They've gone on the road to Green Bay and won already. So they've gotten the harder of the games in the division on the road out of the way already. All of those games are still at home. So this Lions team, boy, I tell you, right now they look like the cream of the crop, not just in the NFC North, not just in the NFC overall, but in the entire National Football League. Rams Patriots, we won't spend a ton of time here. We already talked about this game briefly when I talked about Drake Maye, but Matthew Stafford was in his bag after not scoring a single touchdown in the game on Monday night. And let me just say this, the Lions are now 9-1, a league best 9-1, tied with the Kansas City Chiefs at 9-1 for the best record in the NFL. Obviously, that's the best record in the NFC. Not by much. The Eagles are sitting there at 8-2, so it's not like they got this massive cushion. Same can be said for the Chiefs over on the AFC side. The Bills are 9-2, right? They're just a half game back of Kansas City and we'll talk about that a little bit later on when we get there. But anyway, I digress. Stafford bounced back in a major way after the pitiful performance on Monday night versus the Dolphins in the 23-15 loss that dropped them under 500 at 4-5. He bounced back 18-27, 295, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I still can't understand why the Patriots were so aggressive in blitzing Matthew Stafford as if he doesn't know how to beat the blitz. Threw a touchdown pass to Cooper Kupp for 69 yards on a blitz where he just hit him on a slant, essentially a skinny post against all-out pressure, 0 coverage. He catches the slant. The corner tries to undercut it, misses. Kupp catches it and essentially walks into the end zone for 69 yards. I just don't understand that type of defense. Make Stafford do it over and over and over and over again. And see if you can't get him to make a mistake, take a bad sack, whatever. But Puka Nacua scored his first touchdown of the season. He was outstanding, 7 catches, 123 yards. Kupp, as I mentioned, had the big 69-yarder. He had 6 catches, 106 yards. And so they get it done. And it wasn't the prettiest of performances. They started slow. The Patriots had a chance, jumped on them early, had a chance to get them, but couldn't take advantage. And the Rams get it done. This was a good game from Kyron Williams as well. 15 carries, 86 yards. He looked good. A big bounce back after the struggle on Monday Night Football for that Rams offense. They're back to 500 in that weird, wacky, wild NFC West division where every team is 5-5 except the 6-4 division leading Arizona Cardinals. Patriots dropped to 3-8 on the season, but they've been playing a lot better football. Browns Saints, what a crazy game. This game was drunk, especially early. This will forever be known as the Taysom Hill game. All right. So Jameis Winston, played for the Saints for 2 years. So he was back in New Orleans, 30 of 46, 395, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He actually played well, but defensively, they did not play well in this game, and that was the reason they lost. But again, this is going to be forever known as the Taysom Hill game. Taysom Hill is 34 years old. He took a sip from the fountain of youth in this game. Remember, I talked about a little break ain't never hurt nobody, right? Taysom Hill was out for about a good 3-4 weeks earlier this season. He didn't look like, I mean, he was playing well, short yardage, the things that they always do with him, but he didn't look like this. He comes back from the break, and Taysom Hill has been like damn near unstoppable, and he turns in one of these efforts. If you're a Taysom Hill fantasy owner, he might have single-handedly won you a game this past weekend. Derek Carr has found himself a new favorite target in Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who they just signed, 2-3 weeks ago. He's all of a sudden this big play machine for the Saints, but 21 of 27 for Derek Carr, 248, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only sacked once. Taysom Hill threw the football twice. 1 of 2, 18 yards. He did get picked off. He threw it right to Denzel Ward. I don't really know. He threw it into triple coverage. I don't know what the hell he was thinking on that play, but whatever. Taysom Hill, though, in this game, 7 carries, 138 yards. Let me repeat that myself one more time. Taysom Hill, 7 carries, 138 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. This man averaged 20 yards per carry in this game. What the? What has happened? What has become of this Cleveland Browns defense? What am I seeing? What am I watching here? This was crazy. All right. Taysom Hill also 8 catches, 50 yards. So he threw for 18 yards. He ran for 138. All right. So let's do the math together. Okay. 18 plus 138 is 156. Okay. And then he caught 8 passes for 50 yards. That's 208 yards all purpose in 3 different ways for Taysom Hill. 18 passing, 138 rushing, and another 50 receiving. Bro is 34 years old. Hey. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling had another big catch. Remember last week he had like 2 big touchdown grabs against Atlanta. This week, 2 catches, 87 yards. One of them a 71-yard catch and run touchdown. This was a 14-14 game at one point, and then the floodgates open and the Saints run away. That's 2 straight wins for Rizzy, the interim head coach, the special teamer taking over. It's 2 straight for the Saints. And look, the Falcons have lost 2 straight. They're 6-5, I believe, in that division. You know, the Bucks were on a bye this week, but hey, don't count the Saints out just yet. They're not dead yet. Somebody's got to put them to sleep. Who's their next game against? I think they got another trash opponent too coming up. Oh no, I call this an elimination game. The Saints are now on a bye. They come off the bye and they play the Rams. That will be an elimination game because the Rams are playing the Eagles this week and on Sunday Night Football, and the Rams are going to lose that game, drop to 5-6. And the loser of that game, 5-6 versus 4-7, the loser of that game is eliminated. Is Louie T eliminated, not officially eliminated, but Louie T eliminated from playoff contention. So that'll be an elimination game on December the 1st between the Saints and the Rams. But that's 2 straight for the Saints. Don't look now, but the Saints have found their mojo under their interim head coach, Rizzy. Well, let's see if they can keep it going post-bye. Colts, Jets, we won't spend a ton of time on this, as I have already talked to you about Anthony Richardson's game and how well he played in this game. I think he did have a fumble. I don't know if I mentioned that to y'all or not. I think he did fumble. He fumbled twice, lost one of them. So that's something that continues to haunt him is, ball security, whether it's throwing picks, fumbling the football, et cetera, but he stepped up in this game big. We talked about that already. He was awesome, including that game-winning drive, which was just phenomenal on the part of Anthony Richardson. Meanwhile, on the other side, Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 29 for 184. Like, it's been dink and dunk central for Aaron Rodgers. When's the last time Aaron Rodgers had a 300-yard passing game? Has he had one of those this year? I'm curious. I'm about to go look real quick. Has Aaron Rodgers had a 300-yard passing game this season? No, he has not. Had 300 and it shows. Like his performances this year have been lousy. A lot of checkdowns to the running back. He doesn't look comfortable. He's scared back in the pocket, and I don't blame him. That offensive line in front of him has been a sieve, but he hasn't helped. the offensive line. He's missed open receivers. He's made poor decisions. He looks washed. I'm just going to be honest with you. He looks washed, and I know he was coming off of a major injury, and at that age, coming off of that type of surgery, it's not the easiest thing to do. He doesn't move the way that he used to, and I get all of that. And if you got a quarterback that age at this stage of his career, with coming off of that injury, you need to protect him. And they tried. They went out and got veterans that they thought could hold up. It hasn't worked, but he doesn't look comfortable. He looks scared. He looks paranoid. And at first sight of trouble, he's checking it down to the back. A lot of times, he's not even looking down the field. It's one Mississippi, check down to the back. My guy's not open immediately. Let me just get it to the back real quick. Anyway, he played a clean enough game for them to win. 22 of 29, 184, 2 touchdowns, no interception. Breece Hall had a good enough game for them to win. And look, anytime this anemic Jets offense scores 27 points, they should win the game. And so I said this from the moment they fired Robert Saleh. I said this defense has gotten worse because you took the defensive coordinator and you made him the head coach, and he's no longer concerned with the defense. And so the defense has struggled because Jeff Ulbrich is now the head coach, and he's got a greater responsibility than just calling the defense. And this defense has struggled mightily. They have not been the same since they fired Robert Saleh. But I digress. This Jets team is a mess. There was a rumor that came out that Woody Johnson wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers earlier this season. The guy that he chose over the head coach, right? He wanted to bench him. Then there was another rumor that came out that surfaced that he vetoed a trade. The Jets, Joe Douglas, wanted to trade for Jerry Jeudy from the Browns earlier this year, and Woody Johnson was like, "Hell no, we're not giving Rodgers no more targets. We done done enough for him." Now this was before they traded for Devontae Adams, obviously, but he's like, "Nah, we're not doing that." And so Jerry Jeudy clapped back after he heard that was reportedly something that went down. But in any event, the Jets are a mess. I mean, I talked about karma last week, right? This is what the Jets deserve. They're 3-8, and I don't know when their bye week is. It's got to be coming up here shortly, but boy, they could use it. You know who I do feel for? I feel for Jets fans because they ain't done nothing to nobody, and they just thought that this was the year, right? Rodgers is healthy. He's back. We've made all these moves. We were this close last year with, Zach Wilson at quarterback. This defense has been, great each of the last 3 years under Saleh. Now we get Rodgers back. We ready. We ready to turn up. And, that first game against San Francisco, remember I talked about how disappointed I was with how they approached that game. They approached that game like it was a preseason game. And Robert Saleh was like, we won the first game last year, but obviously Rodgers got hurt in that game. And, I feel a lot better about this team this year, even though we lost, than I did last year after a win. But to me, you just essentially giving away a game as if you got it like that was a microcosm of things to come for the Jets this season. And it's been an abject disaster and an epic fail with the Jets. And we're hearing that Aaron Rodgers wants to come back and play next year. He's got another year left on his contract. And I'm hearing Woody Johnson is like, nah, he can carry his ass. He's not going to be back. Like, Joe Douglas being sent packing is a sign that everybody's about to be fired. They clean the house, including the quarterback position. So this Jets team, I think they want to be in a position to draft a quarterback. So add another team to the list of teams that need a quarterback. Add the Jets in there. So it's going to be crazy watching these teams fight over, 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this year's draft class. Good luck with that shit. I'm so glad I'm no longer in that mix because that's some nasty work there. Vikings at the Titans. 23-13. Vikings get the win. They're 8-2 on the season now. Titans dropped to 2-8. And this was actually a very competitive game. The Titans were in it for much of the game. Like, this was never like the Vikings running away with this thing. The Titans were hanging tough. But Sam Darnold played well. 20 of 32, 246, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. They could not really run the football in this game. And I think that's what kept Tennessee in this ball game. Ultimately, though, that defense was just too much for the Titans to handle. They did give up the big 98-yarder to Nick Westbrook-Akine, but outside of that, um, the Titans were really, bogged down offensively by this, vaunted Vikings defense. Like I said, Will Levis threw for 295. 98 of it came on one play, right? And he had 14 incompletions with 17 completions. So he barely was over 50% in this game. And again, you got to credit that Vikings defense. They shut down the Titans run game. They ran for 33 yards on 19 attempts. Did the Titans. Like, it's that defense. That's what carried them. It carried them last week. Remember, they beat Jacksonville like 12-6 or 3 or whatever the score was last week. That they beat Jacksonville. I think it was 12-7. They beat Jacksonville last week, and this week they beat another AFC South opponent by really just suffocating them defensively. And the Vikings get it done. They're 8-2. I don't like the way they're playing right now, though. But they're finding ways to win. That's the most important thing in this league. It's just find a way to win. The opponents have been opponents that they could handle, like Indianapolis. They didn't really play well in that game, but they won because it's Indianapolis. They really didn't play well against Jacksonville, but they won because it's Jacksonville. They really didn't play their best. This was a better performance offensively and defensively. But it was Tennessee. So you're not going to really, you don't have to be at your best to win those types of games, right? And they did enough and they got it done, and that's what matters. They're 8-2 and they stay connected. The most important thing is just stay connected to the Detroit Lions, who are 9-1 and playing out of their gourds. Just stay connected. And that's what the Vikings continue to do. Dolphins, Raiders. The Raiders are another team fighting for the number 1 overall pick. They're 2-8 now after the 34-19 loss. They were in this game, as I mentioned about the Titans. They hung tough in this game. They continue to fight for head coach Antonio Pierce, but they're just not a good football team. Dolphins get the win. They're 4-6. That's 2 straight wins for the Dolphins now, and so they're not waving a white flag on their season yet. They still think they're in the wild card chase. They got a lot of work to do at 4-6, but 34 points for a Dolphins team that I don't think had seen 30 all season long. As a matter of fact, let's just check and see. I'm pretty confident that they had never seen 30 this season. 27, I think, was their highest output this season. Yeah, 27 twice. So for them to score 34 is a big deal. 2 or 3 touchdown passes in this game. And Tyreek Hill, I think he finally had a good game. Let me see what he did. I think I saw him do a couple of good things in this game. 7 catches, 61 yards. I mean, that's the type of year it's been for Tyreek Hill. Jonnu Smith was the real star of the show. 6 catches, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 57-yarder catch and run. So, and I think Tyreek had the touchdown that put it away, corner of the end zone, left corner of the end zone, front pylon. So Dolphins now have won 2 straight, beat the Rams on Monday Night Football. That was more of a defensive game. Come back, score some points here against the Dolphins or the Raiders. And, Gardner Minshew. This is Gardner Minshew, and this is what Antonio Pierce can't take, right? 30 of 43, 282, 2 touchdowns. The 1 interception he threw was at the very end when they still had a shot. And he threw it right to Jalen. What is his damn name? Jalen Ramsey. Threw it right to Jalen Ramsey. And you just go, bro, what are you doing? It was probably a miscommunication. He thought his receiver was going to run a slant. He stopped and it went right to whatever. It was a bad throw, bad decision. And yeah, that's the stuff that drives Antonio Pierce crazy. But anyway, Bears, Packers, the Bears hosting the Green Bay Packers, NFC North family business. You know how the family do it. This was some good family business here, man. Went down to the wire. Jordan Love continues to be an enigma. 13 of 17, 261. Diving catch by Christian Watson, wasn't touched on a play, gets up, runs, for a big gain, like 70 some odd yards, 60 some odd yards. He had 4 catches, 150 yards in this game, did Christian Watson. But Love had one of those inexplicable interceptions that I talk about every week. He does something that makes you scratch your head and go, hmm. Um, but he made some throws too, like the touchdown throw early in the game when they caught him with 12 men on the field, and he throws a frozen rope. I want to say to the tight end. Who was it to? Jaden Reed. He threw that touchdown pass to. Frozen rope. I mean, he just and Love's just got a live arm, and sometimes it gets him in trouble, but most times it's him making a big play for his team. Good game rushing for Josh Jacobs on the ground. Also caught it out of the backfield pretty well. He had over 100 yards all purpose, 76 rushing, 58 on through the air. So he played well. Talked about Caleb and his performance in this game. Bears hung tough, gave themselves a chance, and had the ball. Caleb took him down the field, overcame a fourth down and long, overcame all the obstacles that were placed in front of him and put them in a position to win the game. And the kick gets blocked, and their head coach, Matt Eberflus, said, yeah, we're going to turn this play in. I think they were rushing over the center, the long snapper. Hey, if whatever makes you feel better, bro. Like, you're not getting a win for it. If you want to turn it into the league and have them say, you know what, that should have been a penalty. Good for you. Like, I don't even want a coach to tell me we turning this shit into the league. Rivera used to do that, and I used to want to slap him every time. Like, I don't give a shit. We lost the game, bro. Well, you feel good that you turned it into the league, and they said, hey, yeah, we should have called. Like, when the NBA does their final 2-minute report, and they're like, yeah, we should have called a foul there. Good, you should have. You didn't, and we lost the game. What good does it do me now? Right? I don't want to hear that shit. Save it. You lost. Right? It is what it is. Packers are now 7-3, so they continue to make it competitive, stay connected to the Vikings, who stay connected to the Lions in that really good NFC North division. Meanwhile, the Bears continue their rapid descent. They were 4-2 at one point. They are now 4-6 on the season, losers of 4 straight contests. Broncos, Falcons. We talked about this game already, so we'll get clean this one up briefly and then get out of here and move on to the next game. 38-6 is the final score. This is the worst beating the Falcons have taken this season. It's the biggest margin of victory for the Denver Broncos. Both teams leave this game at 6-5. Broncos clearly in this AFC wild card race. And with this victory, they've made a statement that they're not going away. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Falcons refuse to put the rest of the NFC South away with 2 straight losses after getting to 6-3 and looking to be seemingly in firm control of that division. They're now right back to the pack with Tampa Bay and New Orleans in that division. So they're going to make it hard on themselves to close the show there. But this was all about the Denver defense suffocating the Atlanta offense, and it's all about the Denver offense destroying the Atlanta defense. It was a total thrashing all phases of the game. As I mentioned already, Bo Nix had himself a career day with 4 touchdown passes, only 5 incompletions, over 300 yards passing. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins, 18 of 27, 173 yards and 1 interception, no touchdowns in this game. The run game couldn't get going. And once you take that away and you force Kirk Cousins to beat you, it's just not where the Falcons want to be. They want to run the football, go play action fake off of that, and get those chunk plays. Bijan Robinson, 12 carries, 35 yards. Um, no, what is the name of the other damn back that complements Bijan? He did not play in this game. And so they had Jace McClellan as the backup to Bijan, and he went 8 carries, 15 yards. So it was a struggle, to say the least. And so it was a big win for the Denver Broncos. And again, both teams leave this game at 6-5. Really, what it boils down to is Atlanta defensively, they're not great. They failed, and they got a lot of injuries in the secondary. My goodness. They came into the game banged up in the secondary, and then they lost another secondary member during the game, and it showed. Bo Nix, and they can't get to the quarterback. So if you take away the secondary guys and you can't get to the quarterback, it's going to be a long day for you at the office, and it was for the Atlanta Falcons. So they fall to 6-5. Broncos improve to 6-5. One of the biggest upsets of the day was the Seattle Seahawks going into San Francisco and beating the 49ers. I don't think anybody saw this one coming. Geno Smith, 0-5 versus the San Francisco 49ers in his career. No longer winless against the San Francisco 49ers, as Geno Smith with a late game quarterback scramble for a touchdown to give the Seahawks the 20-17 victory. This 49ers team, I think I'm over them now. Like, they're one of those teams that you're willing to wait for. You're like, like Cincinnati, right? Where you're just like, they got Joe Burrow. Like, I can't quit them, right? I can't give up on them. Like, we're at the point now where we're giving up on Cincinnati, right? Like, you're like, okay, yeah, they're not going to get their shit together this year. I think I'm starting to get to that point now. They're 5-5, and look, they're a game out of first place in their division. So, like, I want to quit the 49ers because this shit is sickening. Like, most 49ers fans at this point are like, yo, I'm over this shit. Like, get me to next year. I'm done with this year. Throw 2024 in the trash. We'll come back and try again next year. But you say that, and if they somehow make it into the playoff, like I've said already, this is a one bid. Thank you, Miss P. Tyler Algier is the backup to Bijan Robinson. He did not play in this game, so that did not help them either. But if they get into the playoffs, this is a one-bid division, the NFC West is. Whoever wins the division is the only team getting in. You got 3 teams getting in from the North, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit. You got 2 getting in from the East, Philadelphia and Washington. You got 1 from both the South and the West. That is it. So this is a one-bid division here in the NFC South. And when you look at San Francisco, they've already lost 3 games in the division, so they're not sitting pretty there. The best they can finish in the division is 3-3. So if they finish tied with, say, Arizona, and Arizona, let's say they go 4-2, and they can't win the division, right? Because Arizona's already beat them. So at the end of the day, I'm close to quitting. I'm almost at quitting time with the 49ers because they just can't get out of their own way this season. It's injuries, it's mistakes, it's missed field goals, it's untimely turnovers, it's penalties, it's all of the symptoms that you see from middle class to low class teams in this league. We're not accustomed to seeing the 49ers operate in that space, but here we are, 5-5 with Geno Smith getting the upper hand on you in a game that you had no business losing. And how many fourth quarter leads have we seen the 49ers blow this season? It has to be at least 4. And this was another one. They were up in this game 17-13 with 9 minutes left in this game. And all they had to do was get one stop at the end against Seattle. And they couldn't do it. Geno Smith moved them down the field, got them into the end zone, ran the touchdown in. And Geno Smith, 25 of 32, 221. No touchdowns, 1 interception thrown. He was sacked 4 times. And Nick Bosa got injured, right? Before Nick Bosa got injured, Geno Smith was playing subpar football, and they had scored, I think, 6 points in this game. That was it. They couldn't muster any offense. The score was 10-6 when Nick Bosa got injured. And the 49ers were up, and the Seahawks had shown no signs of life offensively. Bosa gets hurt, and the Seahawks score a touchdown on 2 out of the final 3 possessions, if I'm not mistaken, and win the game 20-17. So, again, this is a San Francisco 49ers team that right now they're struggling, right? Brock Purdy, 21 of 28, 159, not a great game, right? Very pedestrian. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey, he has not been the savior. He's come back and he's been solid, 19 carries, 79 yards, but they still have red zone woes. He's not breaking off any big runs. And they really truly miss Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuel has been a non-factor. There was no George Kittle. That really hurt him too. There was no George Kittle in this game. He was out with a hamstring. And they just can't overcome the injuries right now. And they're not good enough. And so you lose this one late. You lost the Arizona game late. You lost the Rams game late. This is who they've been this season. They can't hold leads late in ball games. They've struggled to win the games that were there for them to win. And now they're 2-3 in their division, or they're 1-3 in their division. This is their third loss. They've lost to every team in the division once. Every team in the division once, including now 2 home losses in the division. Loss at home to Seattle, beat Seattle. That's the only win they have in the division. Loss at home to Arizona. That was a kicker situation where they lost their kicker in that game and couldn't kick field goals. But Moody has had his struggles this year, right? Almost was responsible for them losing to Tampa Bay last week. So, yeah. 49ers, I'm close to quitting time on them. But again, for as bad as it's been, if they can get somewhat healthy, they're 5-5. So is everybody else in the division, not named Arizona. Rams are 5-5. Seahawks now 5-5 after this win. 49ers 5-5 after this loss. And the Cardinals are like, hey, we 6-4. And they were on their bye week this week. So that's a crazy division. That's going to be fun to watch play itself out. And then the big contest of the day on Sunday was 9-0 Kansas City at 8-2 Buffalo. What a game this was. This lived up to the billing. This felt like playoff football here as the Buffalo Bills get it done 30-21 over the Kansas City Chiefs. And now there's just a half game back of Kansas City. Bills haven't had their bye week yet. Chiefs have. That's the difference right now, essentially. Now, obviously, they're still back one in the loss column. As long as Kansas City doesn't lose another game, they'd be the number 1 seed. But if they should lose another game and Buffalo doesn't, they finish tied. Obviously, now Buffalo has the tiebreaker. But this was a fun one to watch. Josh Allen officially has entered the chat in the MVP discussion. It felt like Lamar Jackson, it felt like his award to lose again with Jared Goff kind of hovering around, but it really felt like Lamar's award. And then Josh Allen said, hey, Jared Goff, hold my beer. And here comes Josh Allen with a scintillating final drive to put Kansas City away. 27 of 40, 262, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But the 12 carries for 55 yards, excuse me, 55 yards, including the 26-yard touchdown run to put the Chiefs away on a 4th down, no less, was the star attraction there. Allen's legs have been huge here of late. Was huge against Indy last week, even bigger this week against Kansas City. Even though he rushed for more yards last week, he's been fantastic with his legs. I think the most impressive thing though in this game was watching him spread it around. There was no Keon Coleman. He was missing one of his tight ends, right? There was no Dalton Kincaid, and yet you saw Curtis Samuel really start to show up, right? This is the first time Curtis Samuel has been a big fixture in the offense. 5 catches, 58 yards, a big touchdown early in the game. Amari Cooper caught 2 passes. That was it, but they were both deep balls, and they were both big gains, and they kind of set the tone. The biggest of the 2 being 30 yards. He had 2 catches for 55 yards. You see the kind of impact that he can have. Khalil Shakir has been the most consistent receiver all season long when he's been healthy, but that hasn't always been the case. But he had 8 catches for 70 yards, and he had some big catches late in this ball game to keep drives alive and things of that nature. And so, Dawson Knox 4 for 40, Mac Hollins 2 for 27, James Cook 5 catches, 7 yards. Like the spreading around of the football was huge because that's what they're going to need to do. With Amari Cooper now being inserted as your one, and as he continues to get more and more comfortable in that offense, you now have everybody else properly slotted. but you have to utilize those guys to keep defenses honest. And it was good to see Josh Allen spray that ball around to his various targets, including Amari Cooper, who continues to, deal with injuries, but, also continues to get more and more comfortable in that offensive scheme. So it was an impressive offensive performance because, the Chiefs haven't been great offensively this year, but they made some plays and they applied pressure to the Bills. And it was good to see the Bills respond when they had to have it. And I was also proud of Bills head coach Sean McDermott for not bitching up late in this game. This was a 23-21 game with, let's say, 3 minutes left. And it was 4th and, I think, 2. And, the thought process here is take the points, go up 5, make Mahomes, who has struggled this season, and in this game in particular has struggled as well. Mahomes, speaking of struggling, let's get his numbers real quick. 23 of 33, 196, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he struggled in this game, right? He struggled mightily, and, we trust our defense. And unlike past years when this Bills defense wasn't able to get the stops that they needed to preserve the victory, they've been able to do that this year, right? So you trust your defense. They're the highest turnover creating defense in the league. You got the highest plus minus in the league. You're scoring off of these turnovers. You're doing everything you want to do defensively. And so just trust your defense, right? Wrong. It's Patrick Mahomes, and I don't give a shit what kind of game he's having. We've seen the Mahomes magic. We've seen this Chiefs team find ways to pull games out. If we're going to lose this game, they got a kicker not named Harrison Butker. Make that guy make a field goal to beat us. I'm not allowing Patrick Mahomes to beat me because I bitched up, kicked the field goal. He went down. I gave him the ball with ample time to go down and hit Travis Kelce for an 11-yard touchdown and beat us, by 2. I'm not doing that. So, or they probably would have went for 2 if they took the lead by 1. And I'm not doing that. I got a chance to put this game away. We're up 2 right now. We score a touchdown, kick the extra point. We go up 9. They can't beat us. So what does he do? He goes for it. Josh Allen keeps it, runs it, scores it, wins it. What a game. What a decision. It's a ballsy decision, but it was one that he's played against Mahomes enough times to know I'm not doing that. I ain't doing that. And Allen made him right. And so it was a fun game. And it's a big one because Buffalo had these Chiefs last year at home in the playoffs, and they let them off the hook. And so now they're saying, hey, give me another chance. KC, give me one more chance. Casey, give me one more chance. And if they can get home field somehow, some way, get the number 1 seed, get home field advantage, make all roads to the Super Bowl come through Buffalo, they feel like it could be different this time. And maybe it is. They always beat the Chiefs in the regular season, though. Always. It's the postseason that they can't get over the hump. So this means nothing in the grand scheme of the postseason, but it could mean something as to where that game is played, and that could mean something come January, right? So we'll see. That was a fun game. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to our final segment of the show. And of course, that is garbage time. So before we do that, I do have a super chat. I'm going to go ahead and knock this out from JLG. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JLG writes, did you see our guy Cody Barton with a pick on Sunday? What a division the AFC West is turning out to be. Cody Barton's been balling this year. Cody Barton had a pick. First of all, did you see Cody Barton on Thursday Night Football versus the Saints earlier this season? Cody Barton was everywhere. I think he had a pick in that game as well. Look, nobody at that time, no one came to Washington and got better. So we didn't make players better. He's balling this year. Like, they're happy with Cody Barton. He's one of the leaders on that defense. He's playing his ass off. Yeah, I saw Cody Barton catch a pick. I've been watching Cody Barton ball this year, and I'm like, where the hell was that at when we had you in Washington? It just wasn't going to happen, not for us. And we put him in too many bad positions where we got him chasing receivers. We got him chasing, guys like Justin Jefferson one-on-one. Like, are you really asking Cody Barton to do that? Like, we had him doing a lot of irresponsible shit. They're asking Cody Barton to do what he's supposed to be asked to do, and he's playing really well right now for the Denver Broncos. But I digress. Anyway, I want to talk about the Giants situation with Daniel Jones. So these New York teams, these New Jersey teams, hilarious. I could do a whole podcast on these guys. Anyway, so the Giants, which we saw coming, we all kind of saw this one coming. They're going to bench Daniel Jones. Now, I don't fault them for this. I understand the logic. You can get out of the contract. There's an exit ramp after the 2024 season. If he gets injured, you're now on the hook for the rest of his deal because it turns into an injury clause, and you don't want any parts of that, right? So to alleviate yourself of any issues from a football standpoint, you do what everybody's done. 2 years ago, the Broncos did the same thing with Russell Wilson. Derek Carr. They did the same thing with Derek Carr 2 years ago. The Raiders did. They sent him home. Like, you're done. You're not getting injured on our watch. We're getting out of this contract. You're done. Last year, the Broncos did the same thing with Russell Wilson. They sent him home. Final 3 games of the season. You're done. You're not getting injured. Because we're getting rid of you after this season. We'll eat the money, right? That's what the Giants are prepared to do with Daniel Jones. They're done. They're searching for a quarterback. We saw their GM at the Colorado-Utah game over the weekend, and he wasn't there to scout Travis Hunter, okay? He was there to watch Shedeur Sanders. They're getting a quarterback. So they benched Daniel Jones. I thought the move was going to be bench Daniel Jones, insert Drew Lock, and have Tommy DeVito back him up and make Daniel Jones the third-string quarterback, which means he'll be inactive most weeks. He won't see the field. Well, they inserted Tommy DeVito, and I'm like, are you trying to win games here? Are you did you not understand the assignment? Are you not going to run the play anymore? Because Tommy DeVito, we saw what he could do last year. I'm not telling you that Tommy DeVito is a world beater, but I liken him to Taylor Heineke. He's going to come in. He's going to win people over. He's going to run the ball. He's going to make some, plays here and there where you go, damn, that was a pretty damn good play. He's going to throw, interceptions, fumble. He's going to do all that shit, but he's going to fight, and he's going to give you a shot to win every week. And I know that Brian Daboll wants to win, but do you really want to win? I don't know if I think that's the right move. Like, if you truly wanted to lose, Daniel Jones was your best option. The next best option to me was Drew Lock. Well, they bypassed both of those options and went to the guy that gives you the best chance to win, which we know in this league, that's what teams want to do. Like, fans want to tank. The team, the players in the locker room, the coaching staff, they don't work, 70 hours a week to lose a football game. That nobody wants to do that. So, no, that's not the intent. You want to go out and you want to win, but at what cost, right? And so I find this to be a fact. Like, I think they could beat Dallas on Thanksgiving. It'll be Cooper Rush. If he makes it to Thanksgiving, it'll be Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito on Thanksgiving. Like, that's must-see TV for me. That is must-see theater. I'll have my popcorn ready on Thanksgiving. They're going to beat some teams with Tommy DeVito. And the rationale we got was he knows the offense better and he gives us the best chance to win. You damn right he gives you the best chance to win. That's the problem. If you're a Giants fan, you should be livid. You should be absolutely beside yourself because you're going to win some games with Tommy DeVito. You might beat the Indianapolis Colts with Tommy DeVito. You're going to beat Dallas on Thanksgiving with Tommy DeVito. Like, this is a bad move if you were trying to run the play. Then we hear today some anonymous Giants player says the shit they doing to Daniel Jones is wrong, man. This is some bullshit. I'm like, uh-oh. Are we starting that now? Uh-oh. So, trouble in New York. It's fascinating watching how teams handle these types of situations. You get yourself into a jam with a contract that everybody could see from a distance was this is a bad decision signing him to a long-term deal, but they were stuck. Their hands were tied behind their back. He took them to the playoffs, won them a playoff game. Saquon didn't want to sign the long-term deal. So they had to franchise one of them. They could get Daniel Jones on a long-term deal. They couldn't get one with Saquon. They didn't want to let Saquon go. Again, they just made the playoffs and won a playoff game. We were going to bust the whole thing up, let Saquon walk, let Daniel Jones walk, or franchise Daniel Jones, let Saquon walk. Saquon was 70% of their offense. So they did the thing that they, and remember, he led them to that playoff victory over Minnesota on the road. That was, you could argue, Daniel Jones's crowning achievement and the best game he's ever played in his NFL career. Statistically, there may be games where he threw for more yards, more touchdowns, but I'm talking about from a totality standpoint, the completion percentage, the amount of yards, the touchdowns, the no interceptions, the every right play. When they had to have it, he made the plays in that game. It's the best performance. And the stakes. It's a playoff game on the road. They had no choice but to sign him. But it was a bad deal, and we all could see it. And I think other teams may be in that same position 3-4 years from, 2-3 years from now that sign, some of these quarterbacks to long-term deals. We'll find out in the long run. But man, that's an intriguing. I'm a family member, so I'll be watching what the Giants do closely, but I know Giants fans. I've talked to very, very many Giants fans who want nothing more than to just lose. And this move going to Tommy DeVito is going to be, at best, it yields them at least one, maybe 2 wins that they would not have gotten. They could beat Tampa Bay this week. They probably won't. Because Mike Evans is coming back. But Tommy DeVito, man, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the 464th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with you again tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow here on the podcast. I will give you my power index for week number 12. We will preview Thursday Night Football, Steelers and Browns, among other topics. And we'll get into all of that tomorrow on the show. And so we'll have a lot to discuss then as well. But if you are a fan of the NFC East, Greg Q, I do that on purpose. You must be new here. Y'all enlighten Greg. Anyway, I digress. NFC Super Friends will be live tonight. I think we might just go with a 3-man. Like, do we really need Dallas at this point? I don't really feel like they have to be present. If they're there, cool. But I mean, what are they going to add to the conversation right now? Like, at least we got something to talk about with Bad Dog. That was a big decision, benching Daniel Jones and going with Tommy DeVito over Drew Lock. I want to hear his take on that. I'm interested because I think you're going to win 2 games because of that decision. That wasn't a good decision. Like, the Cowboys really don't have anything to add to the conversation right now. But anyway, I digress. So, I will be live with the Super Friends tonight. And if you're a Commanders fan, I'm going to be live at some point. I'm trying to figure out what my schedule is going to be, because they screwing me with the schedule tonight. We trying to get on the same page, but I'm going to figure it out because we going live tonight for Commanders Nightly News. If I have it my way, I may go live for Commanders Nightly News early, like 7:30-ish, if I can manage it, and try to get it in before the Super Friends stream. because I don't know if afterwards, I don't know how long the Super Friends stream is going to be tonight. I don't know if I'll be able to do it afterwards. So be on the lookout for that. But that's my goal, is to try to get the Commanders Nightly News live done, before the Super Friends stream. And I may chop it up with them, and I may see if we can, if they want to start without me, whatever, if my show runs long on my channel. So we'll figure something out. But I'm getting both done. NFC Super Friends and Commanders Nightly News. I'm getting both done tonight. So anyway, got a super chat here before we get out of here. See, it's from Spate Gang Gamers, who writes, Lou, can you help me raffle off my 2 tickets for the game this weekend? Of course I can. Now, are you trying to sell them, or are you really trying to raffle them off? Or are you trying to give them away? If that's the case, if you're trying to give them away, I can get that done with ease. I can give away 2 tickets to the mob for sure. Because I don't have any tickets to give away. Those prices were insane. I was like, nah, I'm gonna have to sit this one out. But if you are looking to give away 2 tickets, I can make sure they end up in the hands of Commanders fans, if that's what you're looking to do, without question. So you just let me know. You just email me if you want to, give the tickets away. I can make sure they end up in good hands, and I can make sure that they know these tickets came from you. You get all the credit, and everybody will be giving you all the props for donating the tickets, if that's what you want to do. So no doubt. In any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care. Busy night. And let me just say this too. Big shout out to each and every single one of you who supported the first episode, the inaugural episode of Commanders Kings. It was wildly successful, way more successful than we had envisioned, being that we were supposed to go live, weren't able to do so. Shout out to everybody that subbed up the channel before we even put out a single piece of content. We had over 1,300 subs before we even put out one single video. That's all y'all. That's all love. We really, truly do appreciate y'all for that. And can't thank you guys enough. And then the support that you've shown in supporting the video, watching it, helping us get the requisite watch hours that we need to try to get monetized and all that, man. I can't express how much we are indebted to you all. So thank you guys so much for the support and the love. And we're going to keep churning out that content and blessing y'all with the best that the Commanders content creating space has to offer over on that channel. So really appreciate each and every single one of you for that. And I look forward to chopping it up with you tonight, whether it's on the CNN or on the NFC Super Friends or both. So until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Take care. God bless. See you next time.